What's up, guys? Thank you for joining today. We have James Hayworth, owner of Beyond Exchange. What's going on, James?
Not much. How are you doing today, Ty?
I'm good, man. Good. So give everybody kind of what you're doing right now. I know you have two locations, brick and mortar, but kind of give your rundown of your business right now so the listeners can know.
Yeah, we have two resale stores. We're buy outright. We about 5 years ago we opened. I had to do something. I have a thrift background. I used to be a COO of a thrift store chain. We had like 24 stores, and we ended up parting ways. So I dabbled in a couple businesses for about a year and a half, and bills needed to be paid. So you go back to what you know. And so instead of opening thrift, we opened up some resale stores. We had talked about buying into an Uptown Cheapskate franchise and a Plato's Closet franchise. There were some reasons we didn't. Some were, the franchise agreements, cost. But we also want to do something a little bit different with our stores. We do men's and women's all sizes, and we go all the way down to size 10 in youth. So we really wanted to attract more of the whole family versus just a teenage to young 20 demographics. We do a lot of home decor, and then we've gotten huge into vintage just because that's kind of what I like in anyway. So yeah, we have two stores there, men's, women's, all sizes, youth sizes, 10 and up, home decor, vintage, purses. We do vinyl records. Just try to make a fun, unique experience at each store.
Nice. And then, so why'd you go through the buyout way instead of like a lot of people we work with right now, or you listeners, are a lot of more consignment based? So why'd you do the buyout method?
Well, you have a little bit more risk involved when you go the buyout method. But I didn't want to really keep track of consigners is one reason. The other reason, especially, and I think consignment stores work. It all just depends on the area. And in our area, there's not a lot of consignment stores around anymore. So your customers are already groomed that if they bring it in, they want to leave with cash today. Mm-hmm. So it's a customer demand. Customers wanted their cash. So that was really the basic, real deciding factor was that's what the customers want.
Cool. And then where your locations are right now?
We're in suburbs of Kansas City, Missouri. We have a store in Lee Summit, Missouri, and a store in Blue Springs, Missouri.
Okay. And then why those two locations? Are you just from Kansas or?
Well, we're on the Missouri side in Kansas City, but we are on the Missouri side. The two locations were picked, one because the suburb, the Lee Summit, where we first started, it's a growing community. It's one of the biggest suburbs of Kansas City and population density. So we picked that one. The other one we picked because it was closer to us and the population's about half the size, and it's really it hasn't panned out. But, at the same time, I'm probably notorious for picking bad locations.
Nice. And then I'm guessing that's the reason why we kind of connected, right? Is because you're more. So kind of give the listeners. Are you brick and mortar, or are you online, or are you both right now?
We're both. We're brick and mortar. We also have two eBay stores that are connected to each brick and mortar store. We try to keep it separate financial wise. And then we have a Shopify website that's linked to all of our social media. And that also links to one of our store's eBay pages, so that all of the stuff that we list, we cross-list it on, it cross-lists from Shopify to our MailChimp for our emails, our Facebook, Instagram, Instant Messenger, our eBay. And it could also list to Pinterest. We haven't done that yet. I was hoping it would cross list to Poshmark, but that didn't end up being the case. So we're, I guess, definitely a hybrid. Most of the stuff when we first started listing online on e-commerce was old inventory that didn't sell in the store, and we needed an outlet for it. And then we started listing some of the higher end stuff because honestly, we can make 20 to 30% more online than what we can in our brick and mortar, trying to attract foot traffic. So the higher end stuff we started listing on there. And then as we built the Shopify store, people want what's on trend on demand today, whether they're shopping online, your social media, or in store. So we started listing those items that came into the store and cross-listing it to our social media as well. And that stuff, once it's listed online, it flies off the shelf. So, I mean, with that, I mean, I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know if we're cannibalizing from the brick and mortar to support the online, but at the end of the day, the goal is to make more money, right? So if I could sell it for 30% more online and it sells in a matter of, 2 to 3 days versus waiting a week for it to sell or whatever in store, just because of foot traffic, really, that's kind of what we've done. And since COVID and the shutdowns, we were closed for 9 weeks. Our e-commerce supported us, and now we've just geared a ton more towards e-commerce. Sales and foot traffic on the brick and mortar is still down about 30 to 35%. So we just are continuously pushing more. We're probably going to close one of our locations the end of this year. And then we got 2 years left on the other lease and kind of go from there. I mean, it definitely wasn't the dream. That wasn't how the dream started 5 years ago. But, you look at companies and granted, I'm not going to get $1 billion of VC money, but you look at companies like ThredUp, and I mean, they're going to go public in a few weeks, and they're going to get $250,000 on day one going public. So I'm not going to be that, but it'd be awesome if I could build up to a point where, a ThredUp buys me out and I could be acquired, or maybe we can actually grow an online simply like a ThredUp has.
So like, out of your sales right now, what's brick and mortar? I see you like brick and mortar is down 30%, right? But like, what's even before COVID, what was your sales online versus your sales in brick and mortar, and what's the positive and benefits of both, like online and brick and mortar?
Well, let's say so. Sales wise, I mean, I don't know if you're looking for actual numbers or percentages.
Roughly.
I would say our online generated roughly close to what we did at one of our brick and mortar stores.
Okay.
So about the same dollar, but a lot less expenses. I don't have rent. I don't have the additional payroll. I don't have the utilities, all that. The other store is about double what our online is currently. It's a much bigger store. So I guess you had to break it down. Our online accounts for about 25% of our sales before COVID.
Okay.
And after, it's probably going to jump up to 35 to 40% maybe. I mean, I don't really know. I haven't really sat down and figured that math out yet. What was the second part of that question, man? I'm sorry.
Yeah. So what's the benefits of like being online, and what's the benefit of having brick and mortar as well?
The benefit is, we've kind of already discussed it, and I cannot argue with you. The benefit is a little bit of brand recognition, getting your name out there, of course. And that helps with social media, but the benefit truly is the product, the inventory that comes in through the door when I'm buying from the public. We're doing a lot of creative things. We go to auctions. Some of them are higher end auctions, so we can get some of that product. And then we also have started a sorting process, just like thrift stores do with Credential. The problem with that is it's extremely labor intensive. A thrift store, when they put out their product, they're probably putting out 40 to 50% of what comes in. And for us, it's breaking down to about 8 to 10%. So, we're buying trailer loads of the same type of product that thrift stores get, but we're only able to put about 8 to 10% of that product into our store, and even a little bit less online, because the labor that's involved with online, it has to, the product has to have a value in it to make it make sense. $10 items online, you can do that all day long, but after you factor in labor hours and online fees and shipping, you really aren't making any money on them. So selling those items that we have in store, we got, Forever 21 and all the fast fashion brands, H&M, but I can't do anything with them online just because they don't have the same value. I mean, a t-shirt sells in store for $3 and that's great, but I can't put that same $3 t-shirt online. So there's reasons for having the brick and mortar, and it's that byproduct, because now if we do go 100% online, I don't know what to do with that byproduct. I mean, I'll come up with something, I'm sure, but
yeah.
So
right.
that would go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. So right now you're basically breaking that credential down using that 10. Is it 10, 50% that's going online, or is that then you're taking like the byproduct and then putting it in stores that $3 to $5 range?
Yeah, no, it's probably about 10% makes it into our store, and then at probably 10% of that 10% makes it online.
And then what are you doing with other 90%?
I mean, right now it's just in store. So it's, are you talking about the other 90% of credential that was no good? Correct. I mean, right now we're basically redonating it back to other thrift stores. Ideally, we would grow that, and we'll start breaking that down even more, because you can sell graded product to thrift stores. I mean, and I'm fortunate. I have a very extensive thrift store background, so I know how that whole cycle works, and I have outlets for it all. So if we really want to spend the time and labor, we could break it down, and then we're probably more up to only 50% of the product needs to be recycled. And I mean, that's what'll happen. A thrift store is going to end up recycling it in the sense of rags and so on and so forth. And it goes all over the country, all over the world.
And like what like in the next 10 years, what do you think like the market for resale is going to change? Because you have a unique background in thrift and having your own brick and mortar and be online. What do you think in the next 10, 20 years like resale is going to be like?
I mean, it's not going to slow down much, especially as cost of inflated items, just cost of overall goods to the public, depending on what happens with an economy. I mean, it's bad to say, but a struggling economy boosts the resale and thrift industry. I mean, we've seen it in 2007 and 2008, 2009. I mean, thrift stores grew by 40%. And they were popping up overnight all over the place because there was a lot of money to be made there. And then as the economy gets better, donations change, buying practices change, and it goes down. ThredUp's got a ton of data on that. And I mean, for whatever that's worth, it's valuable data, whatever you consider from that company. And they have continuously watched the online marketplace go up. It's continuing to increase online. It's a struggle, because listing items online when they're one off in the resale industry, it's a lot more difficult. It's not like, an Amazon and I got, I'm drop shipping and I got 100 items and I list one item. For us, you have the same amount of labor listing every single item because you don't have duplicates. The industry's not going away. It's not going to shrink. It's going to evolve. It's definitely going to change, and you're going to have to be there with it.
Yeah, on the ThredUp, it's in the next by 2028, the resale industry is going to grow to $64 billion. Wow. Right now, I think it's at like 12 or 20, give or take. I forgot what the exact number of what it is right now, but it's going to be growing to 64 billion in the next 10 years, give or take. Oh, no, 8 years.
Yeah, right. I mean, and that's a huge number. And it's not 12 billion because it was 15 a few years ago. So you're probably right on, the 20 billion numbers, what the industry is. So you're talking about the industry tripling in 8 years. How is it going to do that? There's a lot of factors and variables, but people are going to have to change. They're going to have to evolve and stay on that page, because I mean, if you look at thrift stores, majority of thrift stores aren't doing a lot online. Majority of thrift stores don't have their own site. Majority of thrift stores aren't doing social media. And that's, I mean, for whatever you want to call it, I just call it low hanging fruit. If you just can get in there and it's all there. It's there for thrift stores to capitalize on. So if they can figure that out, well, then they're definitely going to grow by, 3 times the number over the next 8 years.
I think you hit on the top of the head, right? Like the thrift stores are so far behind in terms of the new wave. That's why a lot of resellers still go to thrift stores. If thrift stores were perfect in the perfect world, everything would be up online and they'd cut out the middleman, right?
Right. And I mean, you know, today, as it stands today, and there are going to be thrift stores that really, they're going to cater to resellers. Resellers are there. You know, there's a, I don't even know what's the right word. There's a stigma with resellers in thrift that they think they're being taken advantage of or whatever the case may be. But really, the reseller is probably one of the most important customers for thrift stores right now.
Yep.
And, you know, what's that 80-20 rule? And they are probably 20% of your customers, but they're 80% of your business. And you can cut that middleman out, but the difference is the thrift stores have to do the work. They don't have the customers that you have online. So it is what it is. They're a supplier to the resellers because they haven't done the work. But I do imagine thrift stores are going to pop up. You see the Goodwills, the drop bin locations where you can go in and buy by the pound. There's going to be thrift stores that will, over the next 8 years, that are going to evolve to cater just to resellers because they're going to need a supply from somewhere.
Yeah, 100%. And you kind of even touched on it beforehand as well. Like two things is that the thrift stores are too lazy to put everything online, and you talked about it as well as like the dollar amount per item, because it's all different items, is very costly, right? I know the listeners know that's what we work on, right? We help people list on that side. But like is that the main barrier to entry you think these major thrift stores have, is just listing products online, or are they just so far behind because it's so corporate? Because you have that thrift store knowledge. Is it because it's so corporate right now that really they haven't had the ground that on the ground like experience yet?
It's a couple things, and it's definitely an opinion. I don't have any scientific fact-based data to back any of this up, but you look at like a Savers, for example, and those are the biggest head scratchers. They have all the resources. They have all the technology. They're a lot more updated. They're got huge investors. They got corporate America executives. I have no idea why they haven't went online. It's the biggest head scratcher in the world. The only thing that, you know, there's honestly a lot of thrift guys are a little bit old school. There's a fear of the online. It's a fear of the unknown. They're not going out and venturing. Thrift, if you really look at thrift, what's changed in thrift in 50 years?
Nothing that I know of.
So, I mean, they're just not used to, I mean, outside of Savers, maybe using a POS and having reports, but that's only big companies that do that. So they just haven't changed. I think most of it's just fear or just an unknown. And it's, well, what we're doing has worked. So why would we, you know, it's not broke, don't fix it type of situation. The problem is that will, I think, over the next decade's going to catch up, and they're going to start finding out that stuff in their system is broken because it didn't evolve to the new shopper. And really, you know, a thrift shopper it's not the 40-year-old guy anymore. It's the reseller, but there's a lot of young kids. A lot of young kids are out there looking for treasures. They're looking for vintage. Vintage is so popular right now. They're either flipping it, they're enjoying it, they're liking it, they like the treasure hunt, but a thrift store isn't marketing to them at all. I don't know of a thrift store. I mean, there's probably a couple out there, but I don't see any thrift stores marketing to a young demographic.
Yeah, 100%. On that same topic, there's a YouTuber. His name is Paul Cantu, right? He speaks to that Gen Z, maybe younger millennial type. And what Goodwill, they actually stopped him from filming there for like a 2-year stretch. And like he has 500,000, 600,000 subscribers, all Gen Z, and he can push a lot of product, but they're still so far behind that they won't even let him film inside. It's like free marketing because he's finding great flips. Yeah. Wild, isn't it? Why? I think you're right on the terms of like it's just a bunch of old school guys that are just kind of if it's not broke, don't fix it mentality. I think you're on point with that. Cool.
Yeah, I mean, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say we can segment into the next section, but other than that, what's final thoughts on that?
Oh no, you're good. You're good.
Cool. Yeah. So last thing we'll jump into is like any new strategies that you're using in terms of getting new clients into the door to your brick and mortar, to your online section, or any unique ideas that you're tossing out there to give it a quick test.
I mean, driving traffic into the brick and mortar, especially during, and the COVID experience that we're all in right now is very different across the country. So you have listeners across the country, they're not going to be experiencing what I'm experiencing. They're probably not experiencing what everybody else, because, there's just so many different levels of lockdowns or security or mandates going on that it's different everywhere. Here in Kansas City, Missouri is a state, there's not really any mandates, but within the city, there's a lot of mandates, a lot of occupancy restrictions. And really, we've just seen such a drop in customers because, and rightfully so, everybody can do whatever they feel like doing. But there's just been a lot of, I don't know, we'll call it more cautious customers, and they're just not really leaving their house. They're not getting out. They're just not shopping for necessities. And I mean, let's be honest, I'm not really a necessity. My business isn't. So for brick and mortar, we've definitely struggled. I mean, we keep talking about, these are the policies we have in place. This is the cleaning policies that we're doing. And it hasn't helped. Social media hasn't really boosted us. Social media has become a lot more difficult to advertise for foot traffic. So I don't really have anything new brick and mortar. I'm going to humble myself and say I'm not been successful on driving new foot traffic during COVID. Okay. For online, we haven't ventured into like Google AdWords and stuff. We've actually been advised to not spend money on that. We've really just promoted a lot on Instagram. And like I was mentioning earlier to you before our podcast, spending a lot of time trying to figure out TikTok and get the TikTok business for TikTok going, and those ads. It's TikTok's so new. It's going to be, imagine when Instagram started doing a lot more ads 6, 7, 8 years ago. So it's going to die down, just like, I mean, the Instagram ads did. But I mean, might as well ride that wave while I can and try to develop those followers. I mean, one thing I see that is huge, I watch a couple other guys on Instagram without brick and mortars, but they got massive Instagram followings, and they're strictly online e-commerce. They have a brick and mortar warehouse, but they're selling out. They drop about 200 items a week onto their Instagram page. They usually do it on a Wednesday and a Sunday. And they have like a 90% sellout rate every time they do it. And, they have a loyal follower base. And when they put stuff on there, they put on what their customers want to buy. So they've been extremely successful at that. That's kind of what I have followed, is trying to get on Instagram and TikTok and see if I can grow that base through that.
I'm guessing the people that you're talking about is Rally Roots, correct?
No, but they do very well too. But there's another one. They're here in Missouri. They're called Springy Jeans. Rally Roots. Those guys they got a lot going on. I mean, they have a different personality than me. I couldn't make money on YouTube. I've tried YouTube channels 3 times, and I don't outrun the dogs long enough, and I end up quitting YouTube. So, I mean, they have a unique following with that. There's another guy that I follow down in Tampa Bay, Rockstar Flipper. He does very well also. Casey. But once again, Casey, he does. I'm going to tell him I gave him a shout out on your podcast too.
Definitely.
Those guys are doing very well with YouTube and affiliate stuff. So, but the guys, Springy Jeans in Springfield, Missouri, they're 100% Instagram and Shopify, and they sell it all out. Rally Roots, he's definitely taken a direction of a lot more vintage. He's gotten into that trend. And I mean, that trend isn't dying off anytime soon, but it will evolve just like everything else. And everybody's going to have to stay on top of what that trend is. I mean, if you would have told me, sorry, go ahead.
I'm checking out the Springy Jeans. Yeah. Fantastic items, honestly, all vintage wear, really unique.
Yeah.
But shoot.
But I mean, if you would have told me 7-8 years ago how much I could sell a vintage Champion hoodie for, I would have told you were crazy. So that same thing just has to keep, I mean, it's going to change. I mean, I don't know what it's going to be in 8 years, but there's going to be a new champion, a new vintage rock tee, a new something. And, you know, you just got to continue to stay on that.
100%. What is it like? Fashion always changes, right? So then the champion now is going to be something, like you said, something else in the near future. But yeah, champion is going for expensive. I'm checking out the highest comps right now. What is the highest comp sold for recently? $800 for the highest champion comp. It's expensive. Damn. 350.
Yeah, we have a resale store here in Kansas City called Wyco Vintage, and they're big into just vintage tees. You walk in their store and everything is in clear plastic dry cleaner bags. So it looks all right, and it's all whited out, the whole store. So it looks super expensive. You can't touch the t-shirts, you can't touch the shoes. And yeah, I think their average price t-shirt in there is about $300.
Really? That's unique. Some of these things are going to be so expensive. You know Kuji, right?
Oh yeah, of course. If I can get sweaters and beanies, man, sweaters and beanies there.
Yeah, I'm a Kuji collector. I have like 6, 7 of them, and they're so expensive, man. But they're so cool. That's my thing.
But see, you know, you talk about that, right? And you asked me earlier about how I'm sourcing product. I don't get very many Kuji sweaters walking in the door to sell to me. Yep. But when I'm going through credential loads and I'm sorting just like a thrift store, I may only yield 8 to 10%. But I find tons of vintage. I find the Kujis. That's where you find those treasures at, you know, those little one-of-a-kind gems that, I mean, I found a busted, and when I say busted, it was busted, vintage Planet Hollywood t-shirt from sorting out of credential, and I sold it for $80. It was 90 cents, Planet Hollywood. So, you know, but you gotta pay it. One, you have to know what's vintage and what's not. You got to teach yourself, you know, whether you're watching Instagram or YouTube, whatever the case may be, you definitely have to learn, and you got to stay on top of it, because there are a lot of reproductions. There's a lot of fakes. There's all that going on. But then it's also really, you know, what's rare. You know, you find a vintage shirt and it's an all over print vintage shirt from, you know, 90s. And you may think as well, it's just another vintage shirt and there's $20, but since it's all over print, and I don't know, maybe it was like Mountain Evolution or something, you know, one of those brands, and it's worth $100. So, you know, it's all, you know, and that's the other thing about thrift stores. Thrift stores, until they gain that knowledge and list that stuff online, and until they do the work, that's why resellers keep going. They keep going, hoping that a thrift store is going to screw up on the price, and they're going to find that shirt for $5 and they're going to flip it for $80.
Yep, consistently. Cool. Have you tried out? Probably last thing. Have you tried out? Kind of some tactical tips for our listeners. Have you tried cross-listing to Facebook Marketplace yet to drive some of that localized traffic?
We haven't tried since we've had Shopify. We tried before, probably about 2 to 3 years ago. We did a lot of marketplace and even Craigslist still at the time, and it didn't drive me very much foot traffic. The one thing that I'm not doing that I am guilty 100%, and I suggest everybody listening should do it, don't listen to me because I'm not, is live videos.
Live videos, yep. Definitely.
Facebook and Instagram live videos are huge, and I don't know. For some reason, it's a stigma that I have that I don't think my customers want to listen to a 250-pound, you know, grizzly bearded dude talking about purses and, you know, Lily Pulitzer cardigans. And I haven't found the employee yet, or even family member that I can get that really does a good job or even is willing to do the videos. But if you can do anything out there, especially probably to drive indoor foot traffic, that's probably the key.
A unique topic about that. Some of my buddies, they ran some BC out in China. There's a player out in China that's doing like a massive amount of video, like QVC video is massive out in China. In 1 hour, this big influencer in China pulled $1 billion in 1 hour just by selling online.
Wow. Yeah.
A lot of money.
And, you know, I used to be a member of NARTS, and I'm a member of a couple other reseller Facebook groups. And I mean, the ladies and gentlemen that are doing the Facebook Live and Instagram Live videos, yeah, man. I mean, if you execute, they're doing very well. I mean, it's all about execution, but you know, the first step is taking the first step.
Definitely. Cool. That's all on my end, James. Anything else for listeners? Other than that, we'll probably jump off.
No, not really. I mean, I wish everybody the best of luck to struggle through COVID and you know, keep working hard, diversify, get online, get on social media, get on Facebook Live, Instagram Lives, start figuring out TikTok because TikTok's not going anywhere. It's going to continue to blow up. And just keep on pushing. It's going to be hard. The struggle is going to be real next year too. So all you got to do is keep pushing through it.
Cool. Awesome. Well, thank you again for your time, James. Other than that, all listeners, click on that button below if you want to list faster. You know what Hammock does. Other than that, James, again, thank you for jumping on this podcast, and have a great Thanksgiving.
Real quick, Ty, what is your podcast channel, bud? I didn't get that from you.
Yeah, definitely. So it's let me actually bring it up right now on Apple.
I mean, because I'm going to have to go watch my own video, I guess, right?
Yeah, definitely. So we'll have it up on our YouTube channel first, and then we'll push it to the podcast. The YouTube channel is Hammock. I'll actually link it in the chat below, and I'll put it on the link as well. And then the podcast section is Resellers Hub. And I'll send you both of those in an email after this as well.
Cool. Thank you very much, Ty.
Definitely.